The square shape of the brazen altar, the breastplate of judgment, and the altar of incense are all tied together, with the breastplate being the interconnection between the three. There is judgment, judgment and intercession, and intercession. Thus, the altar of incense signifies Christ's intercessory work on our behalf. Our prayers are offered to God through him, and through him they are deemed acceptable to God the Father. This is explained in Hebrews chapter 7 with these words. Therefore, he is also able to save to the uttermost those who come to God through him, since he always lives to make intercession for them. That this altar is square shows that his intercession reaches to the four corners of the earth without distinction or interruption. It is without limits. Next, it is described as being a single cubit square. A cubit is the mother measurement. 1 cubit would be the basis of everything else. Bullinger describes for us the meaning of the number 1. He says there can be no doubt as to the significance of this primary number. In all languages, it is the symbol of unity. As a cardinal number, it denotes unity. As an ordinal, it denotes primacy. Therefore, the prayers of intercession of Christ are unified and they hold primacy. In other words, prayers to God can only be offered through this one source. No other prayers are acceptable to God without going through his chosen mediator. So much for the RCC's prayers to Mary and to the saints, and to all of the other prayers that are offered all around the world every day by false religions. There is no way that they reach God's ears because they do not go through the one mediator. The height being 2 cubits means that it is 1/2 of a cubit taller than both the ark and the table of showbread. It is exalted above those. The ark is Christ embodying the law, meaning the testimony which stands for the entire law. The table of showbread reveals Christ as our bread who gave his life for us. Only in the fulfilling of the law and in the giving of his life can we stand justified and acceptable before God. Bullinger shows that 2, meaning the height, is the first number by which we can divide another, and therefore in all its uses we may trace this fundamental idea of division or difference. There is a fundamental difference between acceptable prayers and unacceptable prayers. Only those prayers which rise above the law and through the completed work of Christ can be considered acceptable to God. Those which do not are not. And that means that even prayers which are done by people that are observing the law in this day are not acceptable to God. They have to rise above the law. That's Christ embodying of the law. So this is an important lesson that I'll stop and I'll tell you about. When we are told by Paul not to reinsert deeds of the law, and he says it all through his writings, he means do not reinsert deeds of the law. In particular, he says this in the book of Galatians. He uses circumcision as the benchmark. If you allow yourself to be circumcised, Christ means nothing to you and you are a debtor to the whole law. Now, what he's trying to tell us is that if we reinsert deeds of the law, whether they're not eating pork or any other thing, we are moving back down below where our prayers can now be acceptable to God. We have alienated ourselves from Christ, and we cannot do that. The 1 cubit square symbolizes that it reaches to the 4 corners of the earth. The 2 cubits in height symbolize that these prayers have overcome the world and reached to the heavens because of Christ's intercession. This is actually made explicit in the book of Hebrews chapter 7. He says, for such a high priest was fitting for us, who is holy, harmless, undefiled, separate from sinners, and has become higher than the heavens, who does not need daily, as those high priests, to offer up sacrifices for his own sins and then for the people's. For this he did once for all when he offered up himself.